Cuando alguien miente tanto como Donald Trump, y además lo hace tan mal, es lógico que lo terminen atrapando una y otra vez. Y esas mentiras no solo le explotan a él en la cara, sino que también a la gente que lo defiende, y en esta ocasión, a su principal vocera y defensora, Karoline Leavitt, que ahora amigos está en pánico total porque una llamada filtrada ha dejado en descubierto cuánto ha estado mintiendo Trump sobre este ataque absurdo e injustificable a Irán. Un ataque que para encolmo le salió completamente mal. Vamos a desmenuzar todo esto y cómo la Casa Blanca está en modo de crisis absoluta. Pero antes empecemos por lo que realmente sabemos sobre este ataque. La verdad que ha salido a la luz gracias al senador Chris Murphy. Escuchen esto.
You were briefed on the strike against Iran on Thursday. Based on the intelligence that you have received, Senator, would you have ordered that strike if you were Commander-in-Chief?
Well, what President Trump told the country is that that Iran's nuclear capability was obliterated, and it just was not obliterated. In fact, the International Atomic Energy Commission just confirmed that we only set back their program by a handful of months. We were at the negotiating table trying to come to a diplomatic agreement. No, I would not have authorized strikes literally at the moment that we were sitting down with the Iranians trying to come to a peaceful settlement. The only way that you are going to stop Iran from getting a nuclear weapon is an agreement, because as open reporting has suggested, these strikes did not destroy all of their enriched uranium. It did not destroy all of their centrifuges, and it certainly didn't destroy their knowledge. And so it stands to reason that they can reconstitute their nuclear program within months. And what are we going to do? We're going to carry out these massive $100 million strikes every 3 or 4 months? No, you need a diplomatic agreement, and these strikes ultimately set back those diplomatic conversations.
Well, let me follow up with you, because you've said the strikes were illegal because they were carried out without congressional approval. Your colleague, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, actually took it a step further. She said it's grounds for impeachment. Senator, do you agree with that? Is the fact that President Trump acted unilaterally grounds for impeachment?
Well, that's a decision the House makes. That's, not a decision the Senate makes. But it is clear that this is illegal. I know he says that these were, time-limited strikes. They were targeted strikes.
But do you think she's on the right track, Senator? Do you think she's on the right track by suggesting he should be impeached over not going to Congress first?
Well, again, that's a decision the House makes. But I will say, if you compare his conduct in this administration to the conduct that he got impeached for in the first administration, his conduct in this administration is much worse, much more lawless, and much more unconstitutional.
Como se los comenté en otra ocasión, Donald Trump ha negado que hubiera algún problema con su ataque a Irán. Pero bueno, realmente a él no le importa si esta operación fue exitosa o no. Él solo quiere aparentar que lo fue. O sea, a él no le interesan los resultados reales. Solo le interesa que lo aplaudan. Por eso es que niega reconocer la verdad. Y esa verdad viene de la inteligencia del Pentágono mismo. Esta inteligencia que ha confirmado que todo esto fue un fracaso. Gran parte porque Trump fue el que filtró el ataque antes de tiempo, lo cual pues permitió a los iraníes sacar el uranio enriquecido de la planta, algo que él mismo evitó admitir en su reciente entrevista con María Bartiromo. Pero bueno, para que vean lo grave que es, ¿no? Repasemos un poco esa mentira.
Do you think that the Iranian regime hid some of the enriched uranium before the strikes?
No. You mean, did they take it out of the deep one? No.
Because you were pretty clear you can't have a weapon. You're going to have to come to the talk. Something's going to happen.
I don't think they did. No, I think, first of all, it's very hard to do. It's very dangerous to do. It's very heavy, very, very heavy. It's a very hard thing to do. Plus, we didn't give them much notice because they didn't know we were coming until just, then. And nobody thought we'd go after that site because everybody said that site is impenetrable. You can't, you're not going to be able. This way they did. It's at the bottom of a mountain, and it's granite. Granite's the hardest stone, and it's granite. So no, they didn't. But I do believe they had people there because you had cars. They were saying cars.
El lugar, según Trump, fue completamente destruido, que no había manera de que pudieran mover el uranio. Pero está claro que Trump no entiende ni el proceso y esa es su versión. ¿Cuál es la verdad? Todo lo contrario. Y esa verdad salió a la luz en una llamada filtrada que dejó a Karoline Leavitt en modo pánico total. Veamos esto de cerca. Leavitt prácticamente se derrite al defender la versión oficial, negando detalles de una llamada interceptada de funcionarios iraníes que decían que el daño a su programa nuclear no fue tan grave como Trump afirmó. El Washington Post informó que esas comunicaciones privadas mostraban a iraníes especulando por qué los ataques no fueron tan destructivos como esperaban. Por su parte, Trump insiste en que el programa nuclear iraní quedó completamente y para siempre obliterado. Karoline Leavitt no negó que la llamada fue interceptada, pero rechazó las conclusiones que sugieren que Trump estaba equivocado. Dijo que es una vergüenza que el Washington Post publique filtraciones fuera de contexto y que la idea en sí de que iraníes desconocidos sepan qué es lo que pasó bajo toneladas de escombros es una tontería, que el programa nuclear está acabado para siempre. Así que sí, amigos, Karoline Leavitt, como siempre, en modo caos, negando que pudieran mover este uranio y insistiendo en que todo fue destruido para siempre. Pero mientras ella defiende esta mentira, pues bueno, Lindsey Graham anda por ahí intentando llevarnos a una guerra aún más grande, diciendo que en realidad el daño no fue lo suficiente. Al parecer a este señor le encanta la guerra, ¿no? ¿Será que quiere alistarse? Pues bueno, quizás deberíamos darle un uniforme, ¿no? Y que se quede en el Senado en vez de estar empujando a Trump a una guerra ilegal. Otro senador, Adam Schiff, nos ha dejado claro lo que está sucediendo. Escuchemos.
The founders split the government's wartime powers just as they divided responsibilities for so many other things. It is Congress which declares war, which raises an army and a navy, and pays for the financial costs of defense and war. And keep in mind, the need for congressional approval of war making was not hypothetical to the founders. The United States had just fought a war against a king, and the founders did not want to put the power to start another war in the hands of any single person. The framers put their thinking on parchment. And in a letter to Thomas Jefferson in the summer of 1789, James Madison reflected on how they had approached this question of war power, which was the subject of much debate in Philadelphia at the Constitutional Convention. He said, "We have already given in one example an effectual check on the dog of war by transferring the power of letting him loose from the executive to the legislative body, from those who are to spend to those who are to pay, from those who are to spend to those who are to pay." That is, because a decision as consequential as entering into war requires informed debate and buy-in from the people's representative and the public, from us here in the Senate and from our colleagues in the House. Because we need to weigh the benefits and the risks for our constituents and for the country as a whole. Because a decision like this one should be insulated from partisan politics and not made with haste or with blinders on. There are perhaps senators in this body who will say this debate is no longer needed. The mission is over. Iran has backed down. A lasting ceasefire is in place. The threat has passed. And I would say to them, I don't know that to be true, and neither do you. And on behalf of all those who could and would pay, we should not allow this great and solemn power to make war to be usurped any longer. The only way for us to know whether the United States might be drawn into a broader conflict is if we exercise our authority to prevent it, or to determine that the Congress wants to affirmatively provide a president with the authorization to use force. So I'm a yes on this resolution. And if the Senate votes to bring this resolution before the body, which I hope it will see the wisdom of doing, I will move an amendment that I have filed with Senators Kim and Kaine, that I would hope would receive all of our support. Our amendment makes clear what is implicit in Senator Kane's resolution already, and that is that terminating the use of U.S. armed forces against Iran does not affect the ability of the United States to defend itself, to share intelligence with Israel or our other partner nations, or to assist them in taking defensive measures to protect themselves from an attack by Iran or its proxies. Our intent in this amendment is to make it crystal clear that calling up and passing this resolution would in no way restrict the United States' ability to defend itself or our partners. And with that question settled, we should be able to turn to the real need for this debate. Should this Congress continue to abdicate our constitutional duty to an administration that at every turn has deemed us irrelevant? An administration that for too long deferred its obligation to brief Congress and has reportedly threatened to take steps to choke off the amount of information we have and need to assess the impact and the consequences of unilateral military action. An administration that openly disdains and threatens a free press, ignoring the fact that our fourth estate exists to ask questions for the people, even if those questions are uncomfortable, especially when those questions are uncomfortable, and shine a light on the places where tyranny and despotism can grow and foster and fester. Because here's the bottom line. Article 1, Section 8 says, the Congress shall have the power to declare war. And every American should know that Congress is not giving up on its most basic constitutional right to debate and determine whether U.S. forces undertake further operations, offensive operations, against the Iranian regime or any other. This resolution, with my amendment, would give senators confidence that a vote on that question will in no way put American troops or our allies at increased risk, and the underlying resolution would give the American people the confidence of knowing that they will not be dragged into another war without their consent.
Ha pasado mucho tiempo, ¿no? Y con mucha razón, hablando de cómo Trump ha mentido sobre el resultado de este ataque. Pero también es fundamental recordar cómo empezó todo esto. Ese ataque fue ilegal. Un acto ilegal de Trump que desató todo esto. Y no se puede pasar por alto ese punto. Esto no fue en sí una locura sin sentido, sino que pues fue una locura sin sentido e ilegal. Eso, señores, es lo que tenemos que tener presente todo este tiempo. Muchísimas gracias por acompañarme hasta el final de este video. Recuerda, como siempre, dale like, suscríbete a nuestro canal y comparte nuestro contenido. Nos vemos en el próximo video.